think in Florida now, anyone can hunt a python, and you get a prize too. Like you get money.
Where the f*** is that place? And how do I make sure I never go there?
Every year, new technology promises to fix an old problem. Sometimes it's a phone that learns your habits, a car that drives itself, or a drone that delivers your groceries. But once in a while, innovation takes a turn so unexpected that it sounds like science fiction. In Florida, where nature and chaos often meet, that moment has arrived again. Over the years, the Sunshine State has become a battlefield between humans and invasive species, creatures brought in accidentally or deliberately that now threaten the delicate balance of its wild ecosystems. From giant iguanas that fall out of trees during cold snaps to lionfish devouring reefs, Florida has seen it all. But now, officials have turned to something that has everyone talking. Robotic rabbits, hundreds of them, released across the Everglades to lure and eliminate one of the most destructive invaders ever seen in the U.S. What started as an experiment quickly became a story that no one saw coming. A war that humans have been losing. Florida's wetlands hide a silent, creeping threat that has been reshaping one of America's most iconic ecosystems. The Burmese python, once a prized exotic pet, has become a devastating invader in the Everglades. Brought from Southeast Asia decades ago, these snakes found their way into the wild after owners released them or hurricanes destroyed enclosures. In the lush, humid expanse of southern Florida, they discovered paradise, a perfect breeding ground, rich with prey and almost entirely free of natural predators. What began with a handful of abandoned snakes has turned into a nightmare that now stretches across hundreds of miles. The numbers are staggering. Scientists estimate that in certain parts of the Everglades, more than 95% of small mammals have vanished. Raccoons, rabbits, opossums, and even deer, creatures that once filled the wetlands with sound and movement, are now almost entirely gone. Bird populations have plummeted too. The Everglades, once alive with a delicate balance of species, now falls eerily quiet beneath the weight of this invasive force. The python, powerful and patient, has become an apex predator in a place where it doesn't belong, and its presence has thrown the natural order into chaos. Florida has been fighting back, but it's a war that humans have been losing. For years, the state has poured resources into eradication efforts, holding the Florida Python Challenge each summer. Hunters, biologists, and adventurers from across the country descend on the swamps to catch as many snakes as they can. Some participants are seasoned professionals, others are thrill seekers drawn by prize money and the chance to make a difference. This year, nearly 1,000 people from 30 states and even Canada took part. They waded through knee-deep water, searched through dense brush, and wrestled massive snakes by hand. The results are impressive, but fleeting. The truth is, for every python caught, dozens more hatch. Female pythons can lay up to 100 eggs in a single clutch, and without natural predators, their numbers keep rising. Even alligators, the Everglades' long-standing rulers, struggle to defend themselves against the strength and stealth of these snakes. The ecosystem's defenders knew that brute force wasn't enough. They needed something different, something smarter. And that's when a bold, almost surreal idea took shape: robotic rabbits. At first mention, it sounds like science fiction, but this was no gimmick. The South Florida Water Management District teamed up with researchers at the University of Florida to create lifelike decoys designed to lure pythons out of hiding. These weren't cartoonish machines or plastic props. They were intricately built replicas of the marsh rabbit, one of the python's favorite prey species, and now almost extinct in some regions of the Everglades. The plan was simple in theory, but ambitious in execution. Use advanced robotics and biology together to outthink one of the most elusive predators on Earth. Each robotic rabbit costs about $4,000 and is a technological marvel in its own right. They are solar-powered, covered in synthetic fur that mimics the scent of real marsh rabbits, and equipped with heat emitters that simulate a living animal's body warmth. Small motors cause the decoys to twitch and move just enough to seem alive. Hidden cameras watch every angle, streaming footage around the clock. When a python slithers too close, the camera's sensors detect the movement and send an alert to monitoring stations. A trained removal team then races to the location to capture the intruder. It's a delicate dance of machine precision and human skill, turning the hunters into the hunted. This summer, about 120 robotic rabbits were released in select areas of the Everglades. Each site was chosen carefully, places where python activity was high, but natural rabbit populations had nearly vanished. For weeks, the team watched the footage, waiting to see if the snakes would take the bait. Slowly, results began to come in. Movement patterns showed that the decoys were working. The lifelike heat and motion were drawing the snakes out from their camouflage. For the first time in years, biologists could pinpoint the python's positions in real time. Mike Kirkland, one of the leading biologists in charge of the operation, described the breakthrough with cautious optimism. He explained that finding pythons has always been the hardest part. They blend seamlessly into mud, grass, and water, invisible even to drones and infrared cameras. But the robotic rabbits changed that. They didn't just trick the snakes, they exposed them. Once detected, the removal process became straightforward. Kirkland said it best. Removing them is fairly simple. It's detection. We're having a really hard time finding them. They're so well camouflaged in the field. With this new method, detection was finally becoming possible. The technology behind the rabbits is both simple and extraordinary. Beneath the soft, fur-like coating lies a network of sensors, cameras, and microprocessors. Solar panels provide sustainable power, allowing the decoys to operate for weeks at a time without maintenance. Tiny motors inside create realistic movements, like the flick of an ear or a gentle shift of posture, that seem insignificant but are crucial to maintaining the illusion. The heat emitters are carefully calibrated to mimic the body temperature of a real rabbit, fooling not just the python's vision, but its infrared-sensitive hunting instincts. Perhaps the most impressive feature is the AI-powered detection system. The cameras use motion recognition to identify shapes that resemble a python's distinctive slither or coiled position. When that pattern is detected, the system immediately flags it. A signal is sent to a central control hub, where technicians verify the sighting and dispatch a team. There's no poison, no traps, no collateral damage, just precision, speed, and data-driven action. Every captured python is logged, measured, and studied, providing valuable insight into how and where these invaders are spreading. The project is expensive, but the cost pales compared to the long-term damage these snakes inflict. Each python can consume dozens of native animals per year, unraveling food chains and destabilizing habitats that took centuries to evolve. Entire ecosystems are at risk, and the economic impact runs into billions of dollars. For Florida, the robotic rabbit experiment is more than just an innovative test. It's a last stand for balance in one of the most fragile environments in the United States. The Everglades has always stood as one of the most remarkable ecosystems on Earth, a sprawling river of grass stretching across South Florida, alive with the calls of herons, the silent glide of manatees, and the stealth of panthers moving through sawgrass and water. It's a place of both beauty and balance, but that balance has been unraveling for decades. The Burmese python may be the most infamous invader, but it's far from the only one. Florida has become a magnet for invasive species, each bringing its own brand of destruction. Tegu lizards raid alligator nests, devouring eggs before they hatch. Lionfish, beautiful but deadly, feast on native reef fish at a rate that devastates coral ecosystems. Even Cuban tree frogs have pushed out native species, thriving in every pond and neighborhood across the state. Florida's warm, wet climate creates a perfect storm for invasion. Animals that would struggle elsewhere thrive here, reproducing endlessly and spreading faster than humans can contain them. For years, the state has depended on trappers, bounty programs, and public awareness campaigns. Yet despite all the effort, the numbers keep rising. Every new species that takes hold adds another layer of threat. That's why the robotic rabbit experiment has become more than a scientific project. It's a symbol of how innovation is reshaping the fight for Florida's ecological survival. It represents a new frontier where technology doesn't just monitor the environment, it intervenes to protect it. When word of the robotic rabbits first spread, people expected skepticism. A machine disguised as prey, luring one of the most powerful predators in the Everglades? It sounded absurd, even desperate. But what stunned everyone wasn't the concept, it was the outcome. Within weeks of deployment, researchers began capturing far more pythons in the test zones than anticipated. The results spoke for themselves. In several key areas, the rate of python detections rose by almost 40%. The lifelike movements, heat, and scent of the decoys were doing exactly what they were designed to do, drawing the snakes out from hiding. The footage gathered from the hidden cameras was chilling. Massive pythons, their bodies rippling with muscle, were recorded slithering through the reeds toward the robotic rabbits. They flicked their tongues, sensing what they believed was prey, circling in that tense moment before the strike. But this time, the ambush turned against them. The system alerted removal teams, who closed in before the python could react. One after another, the snakes were captured, each one a small victory in a much larger war. The early success of the experiment has given Florida's wildlife agencies something they haven't had in years: genuine hope. It isn't a cure-all, not yet, but it's a powerful sign that the tide could finally start to turn. Still, not everyone is convinced. With each breakthrough comes a wave of ethical and practical questions. Some environmentalists point to the cost, thousands of dollars for each robotic rabbit, and wonder how scalable this approach really is. Others raise concerns about what happens when the machines malfunction or break down in the wild. Could they unintentionally interfere with other animals or disrupt the ecosystem they're meant to protect? And then there's the deeper, philosophical unease. What does it mean to release artificial creatures into natural spaces? Are we preserving nature, or are we changing it in ways we don't fully understand? These questions don't have easy answers, but for now, most agree the benefits outweigh the risks. The python invasion is a human-made disaster, born from the pet trade and carelessness. Solving it may require tools as unnatural as the problem itself. Technology isn't replacing conservation. It's becoming part of it. The robotic rabbit isn't about conquering nature, but restoring it, using human innovation to correct human mistakes. The success of the Everglades project has already sparked a wave of interest beyond Florida. Around the world, researchers and governments are watching closely. The potential applications are vast. Robotic decoys could be used to manage invasive rats on remote islands, protect endangered birds from predators, or deter coyotes from suburban areas. In agriculture, similar devices could help control wild boars that tear through crops or track animals spreading disease. The combination of robotics, artificial intelligence, and environmental science is opening a door to a new era of wildlife control, one that minimizes harm while maximizing precision. In some labs, prototypes for robotic birds are already being developed. These machines could monitor migration routes, collect data, or even scare away invasive species without firing a single shot. The Everglades robotic rabbits might one day be remembered as the first step in a global movement, a fusion of technology and ecology aimed at healing the damage humans have done. It's conservation reimagined, where machines serve life rather than exploit it. As this story unfolded, it didn't just capture attention in Florida, it caught the world's imagination. Robots hunting snakes became a headline that sounded like science fiction, but behind it lies something far more profound. This isn't about novelty or spectacle, it's about survival. The Everglades are not just a Florida treasure, they're a living system that filters water, supports biodiversity, and stabilizes climate across the region. Losing them would be a loss for the entire planet. The stakes are that high. What's happening in Florida now is more than a local experiment. It's a glimpse of the future. The merging of biology and robotics is creating tools that could redefine how humanity interacts with the natural world. It shows that even in the face of overwhelming ecological crises, innovation can offer a path forward. The robotic rabbits may look small and strange, but their impact could be immense. They represent something humanity desperately needs: the ability to adapt, to learn from failure, and to fight for the natural world with every resource available. Somewhere deep in the Everglades, as dusk settles over the wetlands, one of those robotic rabbits twitches its ears beneath the fading light. In the shadows, a python senses movement and begins its silent approach. This time, though, the balance has shifted. The hunters are being watched, their presence tracked and exposed. And for the first time in decades, Florida's fight against its invasive predators feels like it might, finally, be turning in favor of the land itself. The unexpected impact. Since the trial began, python removal numbers have gone up, but something else changed too. Communities around the Everglades, hunters, locals, environmentalists, have started working together more closely. The project has drawn renewed attention to how serious the python crisis really is. For years, the general public treated it like an odd Florida headline. Now, it's being recognized as one of the greatest wildlife challenges in America. And behind that change in perception stands a small, solar-powered bunny hopping in the grass, doing its quiet part to save an ecosystem. Officials are cautious. They're not calling it a miracle cure. The robotic rabbit program is still in its infancy, and researchers say they'll need at least 2 years of data before making it permanent. But the optimism is real. If it scales successfully, Florida could deploy hundreds, maybe thousands, of robotic rabbits across key areas of the Everglades. Combined with continued hunting programs, detection drones, and GPS tagging, it could finally turn the tide in this decades-long war. Florida's fight against invasive pythons has taken twists no one could have predicted, from annual hunting contests to high-tech robotic bait. But maybe that's exactly what it takes to fix a problem that humans created in the first place. Bold, creative thinking, backed by science and persistence. The Everglades are more than just wetlands. They're a symbol of how fragile balance really is. If robotic rabbits can help restore that balance, it's a story worth following closely. So, what do you think? Are robotic animals the future of wildlife conservation, or are we opening doors we can't close? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this story fascinating, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more deep dives into real-world mysteries and breakthroughs, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one.